Hello and welcome to Barkleys Aerospace Training. To start off, a brief history of Barkley Aerospace. What we do here, what you guys do here, is you guys do flight control systems, and what a cool industry to be a part of. You guys are an industry that is about 100 years old, but has taken literal flight. Barkley takes care of all of the units that you see here on this plane. Anybody riding on a commercial plane has taken part of Barkley's products. So it's a very important product, not just to the business sector, but also to our safety as families. I mean, we put our families on these planes, and so there's a lot of stakeholders that go into this. Not only stakeholders that can profit financially, but also from a safety and ethical standpoint as well. And certainly a lot of government regulations and controls that go in order to protect the stakeholders, and we're going to talk about that. First, I want to touch on the vision of Barkley Aerospace quickly. This is the strategy of Barkley Aerospace. They want to have their engaged people, premier customer experience, profitable growth, and financial performance. We're going to touch a little bit on these things and how the stakeholder can affect these things and how these things affect the stakeholders. So quickly to discuss our stakeholders here at Barkley that we're discussing is first the employees. The employees build our product. They are the reputation of our company. They are the ones that ensure quality in our parts, and quality in the aerospace industry is everything. Secondly, we have our customers, which is the airline. They are the ones purchasing the part from us, and their reputation is also on the line for that quality. If you saw in the news that a plane went down, you wouldn't see on the news advertised that a plane went down, Delta Airline, with a Barkley actuator. You would just see that a Delta airline flight went down. So their reputation rides heavily on us, and also their profits and long-term success, really. And then lastly, and very importantly, is the consumer of this product, the passengers. This is the businessmen, the businesswomen, the families on their way to Disneyland and vacation. These are the people partaking of the product that are key stakeholders. Touch briefly on the site here. Speaking of employees, we have a very proud workforce at Barkleys, and we want to recognize them as a key stakeholder because we won't be focusing a ton on them in the rest of this presentation, but 550 employees. I mean, that's what makes up this division, this company, and the pride of ownership that those 550 people should feel. The site that they've developed, I mean, you see the size here. 250,000 square feet of space that these employees have made home. Literally their second home, sacrificing for the company as a key stakeholder. So back to Barkley Aerospace. I did a quick SWOT analysis on them. The industry for aerospace is interesting. It's a very competitive industry, but at the same time, because it costs so much to get into the industry, there's not a lot of competition as far as quantity of aerospace companies. So quickly, we have our internal factors up here, and those are all the strengths and the weaknesses that we have here internally. This is our suppliers, our procurement, our employees. This is everybody taking part in the business. We have our external forces, which is opportunities and threats. Sure, they affect us internally, but generally an external factor. The economy, the weather, who's running for president, a lot of things that you wouldn't think affect air travel do. We here have our positive things. This includes our strengths and opportunities, and our negative things, weaknesses and threats. I'll just touch on a couple of these. Some of the strengths of Barkleys is we have very unique products. So we deal in hydraulic controls. Something to be proud of, very unique product, something to be proud of. And certainly that requires a robust supply chain. We have hundreds of piece parts that make up these assemblies, certainly complex units. So a lot of time has been spent developing that supply chain. A couple other things are cost advantages. Being here in the local area, We're able to do things cost effective, and we also focus on lean management, lean manufacturing in order to give us an edge. Some of our weaknesses are our bad and our slow acquisitions. So again, the aerospace industry is competitive and it's a very expensive industry. And so some of our acquisitions have been very slow as far as purchasing and also developing. And then we've just had some bad acquisitions, bad contracts written up that we've had to follow through with. Weak research and development. Research and development for aerospace is a long and tedious process, and because of the non-involvement that we have from the customer, this is certainly weak, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. Opportunities, certainly to strengthen our acquisitions. New technology, this goes into our research and development. New products and global growth. Some of the threats is, again, our fragile market. The aerospace it fluctuates quite a bit. Bad economy and international competition, which is directly competing with this global growth. So I'm going to talk about the relationship between the organization, Barkley Aerospace, and the customer, the airline. It's an interesting thing because again, the aerospace industry, I'm probably going to touch on that a lot, but the aerospace industry is very expensive to maintain, it's very expensive to get into and out of. So I'm going to now quickly compare the aerospace industry to the food market. And you can really replace this food market with any normal good. So what is the cost of losing a customer? Why have I picked the customer relationship to focus on as a key relationship to work on? Well, here's why. In the food industry, if I were to lose the business of a grocery store, I am a bread supplier, and I lose that business, it's going to hurt me and it's going to affect me. There's a few things. I have, first of all, low inventory cost. I have bread sitting on my shelves. It's not costing me a lot. There's the ability to reuse those items. So if I can get that bread off the shelf quickly enough to my other grocery stores, I haven't lost anything in inventory. It's a customer-rich environment, so who consumes bread? Well, everybody consumes bread. Who sells bread? Well, there's a grocery store on every corner, so you have a very customer-rich environment. Short lead time. Bread is something that could be turned over very quickly. We can turn the on-off switch as customers come in and come out. We can fluctuate our supply based on the demand that we see in the market. We can sell that same product to different customers, and also the business portfolio is made up of many customers. We talked about that, a grocery store being on every corner. Comparing that to the aerospace industry, if we lost a customer, so if a Boeing or an Embraer or an Airbus were to pull away from Barkley Aerospace, what would that mean for us, and how does it differentiate? First, there's very high inventory costs. This isn't a consumable product. This is large forgings and castings, dense metals. It's very high inventory cost. Not only is it a high inventory cost, but we're using a lot of this inventory. It can't be reused for other customers. Very seldomly can it be reused because each design is specific to that customer. Unlike bread, you can take it to any grocery store. I can't take Boeing's actuator to Airbus and sell it. It's not the way that the industry works. There's a competitive market for me to go out there and try to sell this product to, so I can't quickly pick up another customer. There's very long lead times on me trying to recuperate this loss. Unlike the on-off switch you see in a normal good, we can't do that in the aerospace industry. And the business portfolio, again, is made up of very few customers. So my proposition and what I want to emphasize here is the need to create a relationship between the aerospace customer and us, the aerospace supplier, Barkley Aerospace. It's one of our most critical relationships that we have because it affects every other stakeholder. If we can make our products cheaper, safer, better, it affects the consumer, the people on the airline. If we can make our products better, cheaper, a higher profit margin, that affects our employees. So if we can strengthen this relationship between us and our customer, That to us is what can cover all of our stakeholders. Everybody will profit from this relationship. And the biggest way that we can affect that relationship is through our research and development. So all these high inventory costs in a competitive market, a lot of those are driven by research and development. Research and development in the aerospace industry works as such. I give you parameters that I would like to have my Boeing, that I would like to have you design an actuator off of. And you have to design something specific to my application that is different from every other plane. And that actuator then becomes a contracted agreement between me and you that you can't share that information with anybody and we can't share that information with anybody. Because of the development that goes into this, because of the long lead times that go into this and the amount of machining and labor hours, it's a very expensive process. Very, very expensive. And what happens is we have Barkley Aerospace here creating the product and working through their issues and their problems while Boeing is waiting for us. We then ship the product to Boeing, and Boeing has the actuator and they have to assemble it and put it on their plane and make it work. What isn't happening is we're not sharing information. So I want to talk about that a little bit. As we're going through this research and development process, we pride that information and we hold it dear to us because it's so costly. Because of that, we exchange information using kind of a faith-based approach. We will share information with Boeing if they really need it. We're not going to give them information. And so you see here that we're talking about conditional surrender and unconditional surrender. That word surrendering information, it's giving up. I mean, it's like we're losing something. And that's how we're treating it currently. What that does is it creates a sense of animosity between Barkley Aerospace and Boeing. And it kind of creates two entities trying to develop one product. And so as we come up with quality issues, safety issues, production issues here at Barkley, we cannot approach Boeing with it because they are handled as a separate entity. Even though it would benefit them greatly, they tell us to deal with our baggage, and we tell them to deal with theirs unless they need to know basis. My proposition and what we really need to get to in the industry is a conditional share and an unconditional share method. This is based on trust. This is built on trust in the relationship, and this is where that relationship comes into. If we trusted Boeing with all of our information and that they had our best interest in mind, and Boeing did the same with us, we could cut down our research and development costs, we can improve quality, can improve safety and productivity. We would open this exchange of information, this sharing of information that would create a better product for the end customer, not only in safety and reliability, which is critical, but profits. We're in this business to make money and keep people safe, and both of these things can be done by sharing that information. And basing that sharing of information on the trust that we share with Boeing. So in conclusion, the stakeholder trust model. We're starting here with our 3 C's, and as we move up, we're putting controls on ourselves as money is decreasing. We're increasing these controls. And going back to this slide, it's surrendering this information, and Boeing puts a procedure on us in order to control our information. And they have a protocol that they need to go through to surrender the information, and phone lines that they need to go through. And what we're doing is we're putting all of these controls on each other, and we're choking off our true potential. This feedback loop that we're getting from the customer and the customer's getting from us is that we don't trust you. We have a design for you, but we don't trust you with it. We have a safety concern, but we don't trust you with it. That's a big deal, and what that does is it increases the inherent risk. It keeps kind of closed books, and we're not able to make as much money. Trust, like we've learned in the managerial ethics class, is that trust makes the world go round. Just as much as money does, and it's because trust leads to money. Very often in business applications, a trust between two businesses becomes very profitable for both of those businesses. In the aerospace industry, it is no different. We need to work on a relationship with our customers, sharing information, not surrendering information. Have a trust with them that we can build quality product on time, delivered safely, so that we can continue to provide this essential form of transportation to the world. Thank you.